Recording is on.
Welcome to DXgov governance discussion, March 24th, 2021. Starting first with the proposal roundup, and we're doing proposal roundup on both mainnet and XDI. So looking at mainnet first, just passed about earlier this morning or late last night was a proposal to deposit 250 ETH into Swapper on XDI. And so this will be spread across four pairs: the WETH WXDI, the WETH WBTC, the USDC WXDI, and the WETH DPI or DeFi Pulse Index, and it'll be 25%. So that'll add on top of the, I think, around $200,000 worth of existing liquidity on Swapper on XDI. So I just did a note, but it would be good if we could do some of the mainnet transactions for these. I don't think we've redeemed the proposal yet, so we could do the mainnet transactions for these and then bridge them over. And then there'll be an XDI in the XDI base, and then we'll have to do a proposal there to get them over. But that proposal has just passed, so we'll be moving that over to XDI soon. And then next, a Gen member balancer reimbursement. This is because we need Gen to do holographic consensus, and we were doing a proposal on XDI, and we were running out of Gen. So I think it was Geronimo bridged over some Gen to XDI, deposited into the XDXDAO base on XDI, and then now is requesting a reimbursement for that on mainnet. The third is Tony's second month payment. Tony was working with the Swapper team. And so this is completion of, I think, the second month. I don't think he's continuing with us, but this is a payment, I think, for the work he's already done. And then next is convert 100 ETH to DAI and bridge to XDXDAO. So this would just be another deposit into XDXDAO for general operating funds. So we last made the first deposit into XDAI, I think it was almost a month ago. And so we've had about, I think, $50,000 worth of worker payments that have come out of that original deposit. So this is just going to start the process of re-upping that with about 170,000 or whatever ETH is at. And then there are the next rounds of liquidity deposits into Swapper. So there's another 250 ETH proposal to deposit to bridge over liquidity across those same four pairs into Swapper on XDI. I think that'll pass on like Sunday, maybe. And then I just submitted a proposal. I think it got accepted, but I actually wasn't seeing in the UI. But this would be a 300 ETH deposit into Swapper mainnet. And so this would be actually done through the liquidity relayer, but that liquidity relayer is still currently controlled by the dev multi-sig. So we did, I think, a test deposit last week of a little under, I think it was 100 ETH. So we have some existing liquidity on Swapper and mainnet, and then this would be an additional 300 ETHs just on the DAI ETH pair. And that would kind of give us a nice, I guess, about $600,000 worth of liquidity in that pair. And that will be transferred to, once the relayer is transferred to DXDAO base, then the liquidity that's in the relayer now will be transferred there. And so this is kind of just all part of the process of building up liquidity in Swapper. So those are the mainnet proposals, I think, right now. Any thoughts, comments, questions? Cool. And then looking at XDI base, a couple things on XDI base. So I think we are like 45 minutes from this proposal closing. So does DXDAO support EIP 1559? We think we are at 24.95% in favor across 11 votes. And this closes the next hour and a half. So if you have rep on XDI, make your voice heard. I think it's good. We've got 11 people voting for this and got about a quarter of the rep on XDI. So that's a proposal. There's, I think, 5 different proposals, one for Hexel, from Omen Team, Lee from Mesa, Venki's proposal, Fluid Drop, who's Dave, who's been helping out with some of the treasury stuff, and then Sky. And then there's also a reimbursement for DXgov ENS management. So, of course, like DXgov owns a lot of ENSs, and these have to be renewed from time to time. So I think that proposal is reimbursing someone who had renewed the ENS domains on behalf of DXgov. And then there is a couple proposals related to Swapper and XDAI. There is a proposal to add tokens to the DXgov list on XDAI. That would be the third proposal for that. Third proposal that's added list. I think we have 20 different tokens on that list now. And then there's another test proposal to unpool liquidity from Swapper just to make sure that we can do that. And then in the next day or two, there will be a couple different proposals related to the Swapper XDAI liquidity deposit from the 250 ETH proposal that we should bridge over today. Because once we get that to XDAI, then we have to go through the proposal process on XDAI to get it into Swapper owned by DXgov. So yeah, questions, thoughts, anything on XDAI proposals? So I guess there was a little the UI was acting up a little bit yesterday, and I don't know if that was related to was that just on XDAI or was that like Alchemy in general? I don't know if Nico is on the call.
Yep. So as far as I know, but I'm not 100% sure, it was just an issue on the XDAI base. John, do you know if it was affected on mainnet as well?
Yeah, it's same. As far as I know, it was just XDAI, the XDAI UI. So something to do with, how they were reading data in Alchemy from XDAI, the graph or RPC. I don't know.
Yeah, they updated the version, but not the subgraph version, and it messed things up, I think.
The only reason I care is because I had a proposal that I thought had failed, and I was kind of upset because it was to add to the token list, and I'd used the simulator before, so I was really sure that this proposal was going to go through, and then it just didn't do it, and I was like, oh no, what did I mess up? So I'm more actually relieved that it was Alchemy. Cool. Any other thoughts on proposals that are out, existing ones?
I'm just wondering, does anybody else have issue with Alchemy? I can't access it on Chrome still. Guess it's just me.
Try to hard reload, clear cache and hard reload.
I tried everything. I cleared local storage, rest. I did everything. It's this for a week now.
How do you connect? Wait, so you can't reach Alchemy at all? You don't see the interface?
Yeah, I just see support button.
Just the support button.
Yeah.
Does it work?
What about it?
I sent email actually, but no one responded.
What about with another browser? Then you can do it?
But I had trouble going to XDAI with Brave,
Huh.
How do you do that? I have MetaMask on mobile, but they don't have XDAI there to connect with Wallet Connect.
Oh, you can add XDAI RPC in your MetaMask mobile, actually.
I can?
Yeah.
Okay, I will try that.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Thank you.
Yeah, the MetaMask mobile app is pretty good and does, I think, everything that the Chrome extension does, and it's probably safer. So yeah, check that out.
I thought it was on sport. I will try it.
Yeah, I think it's in the App Store, or I just remember when I originally got the mobile, you had to like do like the test flight or whatever to get the MetaMask app. But it is like it does everything.
I think it's in the live store now, at least on iOS, and I imagine Google. It shouldn't be test flight now.
Yeah, awesome.
And actually, sometimes when something's not working on your computer, like it's not loading or your Web3 connection's not working, it like works better on mobile. So it's worth having, yeah.
Cool. All right, so I guess that's it for live proposals now, and just kind of looking ahead at a couple different things. The first thing I wanted to talk about was bonding curve proposal logistics. So this is something we've been thinking a lot. I think we are very close, ready to go. So Gusto, do you want to?
Yes, yes, we updated the bonding curve app, and well, as far as I know, the only one that really tested was Sean, that he found an issue with the graph, where we decided to remove the cell line, and the idea would be to figure it out later how can we add the cell line to the graph, whether if we are going to show it or not. And there are, of course, a few other things that we can add in the app, but the main idea was to update the new design based on what Seth shared with me on January. That has been done, and to update the curve when we set the minimum investment to a max unit is allowing future buys. The idea was for the app to show that the buy was disabled. We tested on Rinkeby and it worked. And I created a pull request with a change, removing the cell line. So overall, I think we are good to go. And I added how the process will be in the topic on DAO Talk. It will be merging two pull requests. Once we merge, one is going to make the deployment to IPFS. We can check the IPFS deployment, and then we will need to assign the new ENS address of the DApp, of the DXtrust DApp. That once we update the curve with setting the minimum investment to max unit, is going to show that the buy is disabled in the DApp. So we will have to create two proposals on mainnet.
Could we do that through the multi-call scheme through one proposal?
We can do it. It's we already have the options there. I was already trying to submit the proposal, like fill the proposal ready to submit, or seems to work. So we should be ready to go. And the only thing that I need is some assurance from the rest of the community and the workers to don't take the individual initiative here.
Well, of course, it will only be approved on chain, so it has to be ratified by DXDAO. But so just for kind of clarity there, so there are really like two different things that are happening. One is changing the minimum buy amount, and that's like DXDAO interacting with the bonding curve contract. And then two is updating the UI at dxtrust.eth to show that buying is disabled. And like the multi-call scheme can interact with the contracts, and then typically we would update the website through the ENS scheme, which is only 3 days. But the only reason I guess it matters to update the site is when the bonding curve is disabled. So I think it would make sense to do those like both within the same proposal. And I think there's pretty broad consensus that we want to move forward with this. So I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts or objections or questions about the logistics of being able to submit this proposal.
Yeah, mainly about the cost, because it's like, I think it's going to be $200 to $300 to submit a proposal. So before doing it, I just wanted to know if all okay with it.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that'll be exciting. And like, so that'll propose, I mean, it's assuming everything kind of goes ahead. That means we're like around 8 days, maybe the end of next week, when the bonding curve, or when that proposal would pass. Presumably it gets through rep holders. And so Keenan, maybe we probably will, maybe, I don't know if we'll just do a tweet about it, because that's also like the same day that we were thinking of going out with the month in review. So maybe we just like kind of lead with that in there. But we'll wait for the, we'll see what the proposal and kind of organize some type of comms off of that.
I had a bit of a connection issue. This is referring to EIP 1509, right?
No, this is the bonding curve proposal.
Okay, awesome.
EIP, we should do that though. Like, and I think it's just a simple tweet. Like,
yeah.
And DXgov supports EIP 1559 or whatever. But then this is maybe for next week. So Gus is talking about the bonding curve proposal that he'll submit. And so once that passes, we want to have some comms off of that. And so I'm trying to think of what that looks like, but we can chat about that offline.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll touch base, and I think before the month review or on the day would be great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll let you guys know when I create the proposal. I'm going to share the proposal description before submitting.
Cool. Sweet. And then moving along, wanted to talk about governance refunds, gas refunds. So we had calculated them for January and February, and we kind of posted that, but we've actually not deployed the contract for that. And so I want to talk about the logistics of that. And then also Dave is taking over this kind of gas reimbursement role from Nico. And so he's kind of doing a couple things with this in terms of like putting it together. So Dave, I guess that we had a couple questions on the process here. And I guess the big question was like where to do the reimbursement and like how often, whether that's on chain. I mean, so it's on mainnet or XDAI, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think, well, the question is like, do we do the refunds for the mainnet on the mainnet and the refunds for XDAI on XDAI? Or because of gas fees, should we do everything on XDAI now? And then, yeah, as you said, like the frequency, just to kind of get general consensus, what you guys think. If it should be done monthly, if it should be done every 2 months, 3 months. The main thing, I think, Nico, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the cost is like 90 to 250 euro to deploy the contract right now on mainnet, more or less.
I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it's definitely some bucks to deploy it on mainnet.
Yeah. I mean, the thought being like, and then just the addresses that are paying are like paying in ETH on mainnet, right? So like a lot of like the reimbursement, like it's just going to go right back to ETH to pay for like those additional proposals. And so I guess it does, like on the face of it, it does kind of, it makes sense that reimbursement would be on mainnet. But I can understand that that's just like a cost that we would be like incurring, and we could obviously like avoid. Yeah, I don't know if other people have thoughts about whether just reimbursing on XDAI would be enough.
I don't think the cost is huge for like the claiming of these refunds. And I think it's important, like people are spending the ETH. So like everyone needs basically like a pot of gas money to do stuff in governance. And so they actually need the ETH. So just getting back a portion, a high portion of that ETH so that you can then use it again for the next 2 months on gas is like quite important. So I think doing it in ETH on mainnet is where that's being spent. It should be, that's where you should claim it. And it's not a huge cost to claim it. So I think it's better that way.
Makes sense, yeah. I guess the same question also applies to the multi-sig, right? The Gnosis multi-sig.
Yeah, and I think it's like the same, probably the same dynamics there, because it's like the reason you're getting reimbursed is because like your mainnet ETH account is like drained. And I mean, we obviously need to track this, but it just seems like for reimbursement costs, it's easier to do them on the same network that the cost is being incurred. But I could understand wanting to minimize that cost. So maybe we do switch to like a 3-month or another month cycle, considering we're almost at the end of March here.
Also, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, are we also starting to do it now on XDAI? Because, I mean, the refunds would be a couple of cents per person probably, right? Like, does it make sense to do it at all on XDAI? I think it's more a question, if we do it on one chain, should we also do it on the other? Or are we just doing it because gas costs are so high? Like,
yeah, there's no reason to do it on XDAI.
Yeah.
Zero.
I will say that I would like to redeem my mainnet gas refund on XDAI.
Well, that's what we're talking about.
Oh,
yeah. No, but this is what causes the problem. You need the ETH on mainnet to pay the gas to do the stuff.
No, so
the problem
let's
is
say, not everyone has hundreds of ETH on mainnet like you.
No, so my thing is I can redeem some refunds, right? But even the refund costs like $50 or something. So if that same contract would be deployed on XDAI, it could redeem that same amount on XDAI.
I think the redeem is more like $5 to $10. But like there's cost to redeeming on mainnet for sure.
Just one additional note that we should keep track of. Like, let's say if we want to refund on XDAI, we should take care that we have a lot of Gnosis safe users on mainnet that actually don't have the same address on XDAI. So we would actually need some process to map mainnet to XDAI on a constant basis. If we would want to do that, that would work for sure. But if we don't want users on mainnet to actually pay something on the redeem function of the contract, we could, in theory, just modify the contract like just a little tiny bit so that the contract itself pays the gas out within the transaction itself. But still, we would have to pay that on mainnet.
On XDAI, we would also have to fix exchange rate, right? Because in Ether, we would just refund the Ether gas cost, while in XDAI, by default, it would be XDAI, or we would have to implement like wrapped ETH or something.
Another thing that we can do is to change the refund contract, use only one contract forever and ever, where every 2 or 3 months we are going to be adding how much every DXgov account can claim. This way, you will be accumulating your refund over the time, and even if your refund is very low, you can wait, for example, 6 months to claim your refund from your last 6 months. So you can claim your refunds at any time, and we won't need to deploy a contract every 2 or 3 months. This will solve the problem where right now the refund you have like 2 months to claim it. So if we can change it that way, where we are adding how much every DXgov account spend, the refund will be cumulative, and you can claim it whatever you want, whenever the gas price is fair for you. And again, it will be super cheap. But yeah, taking account that the refund per account is, I think, no less than $50, and the refund should cost between 5 and 10. It is designed to be that way, where you send the index of the account you want to claim. This way, you won't have to look through all the other accounts, which is more efficient.
Yeah. I mean, I do think we're not going to have as complicated of a mainnet reimbursement system, or we're not going to need it, just because we're going to have less proposals and less we're not going to have proposals where people are voting on 10 people are voting on it, at least like right now. We do want to encourage people to voting, but like in scalable ways. So I imagine the numbers that we would be reimbursing in terms of like ETH amounts would probably still be, somewhat high, but they would be going to a fewer number addresses that are like actually doing most of the governance actions. I do think, just to like, we could probably talk about this a little bit more in the forum, but I think one thing we probably should feel comfortable with is I think the multi-sig reimbursements, I think, can happen on mainnet. And the most recent proposal actually included some ETH for those reimbursements. And then Dave actually put, I think it was on the governance refunds forum post, put the gas costs incurred by each of the addresses. And so we should figure out some process for like when people from the multi-sig get reimbursed for gas costs. Because there will be, like, starting, I guess, whenever we redeem this proposal, there will be ETH in the multi-sig for those addresses to get reimbursed.
Yeah, I think on that, just sending Ether to the multi-signature and sharing on which function we did the refund, that should be enough. Or
Cool.
if not, we add it to the DXgov refund. Like again, we add it to the DXgov refund contract. That can also work. Whether we can add to the script that generates the refunds, we can add the multi-signature address and also take the fees of how much each account in the multi-signature spent on voting, on executing the proposals. So that can be added to the script, and yeah, we can refund it.
Cool. And like that's, yeah, maybe that's like the long-term solution. So we kind of have a short-term solution to do some of these immediate reimbursements, and then like having a more robust system that can automate this. So yeah, cool. We'll follow up in the forum, I think, here, because we got to figure out a little bit more on the process, particularly for this next round. But I think at least for, we'll figure out, as someone who's getting reimbursed a lot, I think Sky also is too. I think like mainnet is definitely preferable for at least this batch until we figure out a more robust system, but we'll update this in the forum. Cool. And then just wanted to give a kind of brief update on the like HR and recruiting point. Actually, right before the call, Martin was chatting a little bit about how Melanie, who is friends, I think, with Tammy, has been poking around a little bit and looking to help out a little on HR. And he had talked to her about some of the issues or confusion or obstacles that his team is facing, and really just around like people find it difficult to do worker proposals and get these things through, and we need like a better like process for this. And so I know we've talked a lot about HR stuff in the past, and so just a couple things with both Melanie and Allie. We're trying to meet with them, I think, tomorrow to go over like what are some low-hanging fruit that we can get started on now that kind of like automates this, and just to kind of go over what I've been thinking and what we need. Kind of three main things. One, help workers through the existing proposal process. Two, track DXD and rep payments. Three, build out contributor hub on documentation book. So the first one, help workers through the existing proposal process. That's just, I mean, we've got somewhat process. It's kind of like hamstringed a couple of different ways, but just having someone that is like, you know, reaching out to you a couple weeks before your last proposal expires and say, hey, you need to work on a new proposal. This is the format we're doing. Help people along the process. We do have a list of like workers, so we're trying to go through and figure out. I know some people have not submitted worker proposals, and like the DAO is literally in debt to you, but we want to like get those up to date so we actually know like the cost for DXDAO and everything like that. So we will, I think, like getting a hold on like worker proposals, both in terms of like helping individuals through, but also having like some spreadsheet that we can track this a little bit more. It should be liability in books. This is exactly, it's a great point. And then 2 is like track DXD and rep payments. And so this is something I know has been, I think, frustrating, confusing. Is, you know, we, as part of the compensation guidelines, we have everyone gets paid ETH or DAI, and then also gets vested DXD. But we've never had a very good system about getting and issuing vested DXD. So we really, a lot of workers haven't done this. And this is also a liability on DXDAO, that we have a lot of DXD that's currently in the treasury that is allocated or should be like earmarked for vested DXD. Like myself is like one of these. I did not deploy a vesting contract, and now it's kind of like the ship has sailed in terms of gas costs and also working on another system. But I think it's really important that we keep track of this for the DAO's own financial space. But it's also really important that like we all know and feel comfortable that like we are getting paid in like DXD, and then that's just not some like, you know, false promise. So I want everyone to be able to like know, like, I'm getting X amount of DXD every month, and that goes back to these months. This is the total that we're going to get. So we're hoping to get that. We'll have to go retrospectively back in order to calculate this. But I think that will hopefully get some clarity on like the DXD front. And then the second, and then rep, right? This is the same thing we talked about with XDAI. So rep is turning into DXD, into the kind of confusion and problems we've had with DXD, which is basically like we want to issue and give workers and contributors this, but we like can't do it right now. So we have to track it and then be able to do it later. But when we're tracking it, we need a way to track it. And we also need a way to communicate that it is being tracked and it is like updated to people. So I think like that's a really important thing. And then the third is just contribute to build out the contributor hub documentation book. So this is just actually to plug, I think this is here. No, yeah, this is a little bit later, but Tammy did like a very simple but like great thing, which is just create a simple Google Drive for a lot of different documents that are helpful in terms of like proposal process, different things related with HR. Hopefully this will be in like the documentation book in a different way, but this is like a good start to get there. So I'm hoping Melly and Ali can kind of help in this area. Yeah, so those are the kind of like 3 big things, and wanted to, and are hopefully going to get started on those soon. And just wanted to like check in to see if there are other things we're missing, things we should be doing. Obviously we need to crawl before we walk here in terms of like setting up structure, but I'm hoping that these are low hanging fruit and will also provide some value and comfort and make life a little bit easier for all the contributors. So anything else that we should be looking at?
Thank you for starting the process off, Chris. So, well, 2 things. I think I'm relaying this on behalf of Melanie, and I completely forgot to tell her that she should be on this call today. So she would, I think, say this otherwise. I talked with her briefly. She wanted to set up just 10-minute meetings with each contributor to kind of talk about pain points and just get, you know, just introduce herself and just like get familiar with like everything she needs to know about them as far as like the HR related stuff, you know, and then can start the payment process issues as well. And then the other thing, though, she was asking about the recruiting stuff. I know you were also talking to a recruiter, so I would want to make sure that like if there's some sort of coordination there, just so, you know, however that needs to work out, they could be in contact with one another to figure out what needs to be done on that front as well. So I'll let her know to like maybe circulate some like time that we could like figure out when everyone would want to meet just for 10 minutes. And then of course the squad leads who have like real needs as far as like personnel needs specifically, like she kind of met with Martin, she'd want to just like get a list of like specific needs to kind of work from there on, you know, filling those issues as well. So maybe, I don't know, I'm fine with like if you want to message like them together or something like that regarding recruiting stuff. I'm sorry, I know my volume is so low. I don't know what's going on with my computer. I'll like yell into the mic. So yeah, sorry, but I'll repeat quickly. Just Melanie is going to try and be in contact with everyone, every contributor, and she'll message you directly for like a 10-minute meeting just to like get your pain points.
I actually thought it was very effective because like you were soft, but like I could hear you, and it just forced me to like really zone in. on what you on what you were saying. But yeah, I mean, I think that's great. Like, I think just like getting the like kind of pain points from everybody and just like getting that down so we can start that process of just like what are things that people are running into, where can we like do that. I think that's a great process. I think recruiting is like a huge thing that is like somewhat internal in terms of like onboarding and processing people. Like, how do we know what we're missing, and like how do teams know what personnel they want? I think is really important. And so like checking with them, but it's also just like, I mean, it's like a huge thing. So we can figure. I've talked to a friend of mine that has been doing that. That maybe you could do more like targeted searches for us. But I think we need to have like a general like outward looking approach to that. But any like thoughts on things like other big issues that big issues that are also like a little bit of low hanging fruit, right? So we can try to put some structure. Anything else people have in mind? Cool. And then just as a plug, the contributor book is coming along too. And I think that's, I feel kind of one of those is it's not finished. We haven't really like published it, everything like that. But I think that's going to be a big help whenever we kind of get all that through.
Yeah, I should have a IPFS up today to share.
Cool. And then the other thing is Augusto, DX vote update.
Yeah. Basically, I just wanted to share my idea of how do I see that we can proceed with DXvote. What is my vision there? What I would like to try to do, and see if there is an consensus here on how should we proceed, because it's something that it already started and it's kind of working on Rinkeby. We were able to test and do stuff, but it is not usable by the final user, which is what we need to do now, I think. So my main idea would be to create a testing group of users, of people who is going to be using the app and who understand it, who understands what is our need, and one is which are our pain points on using our current governance structure. So the idea of this test user group will be to test all the new features and new things that we are the developers are going to be adding on the app, and to find bugs and request more features all the time. We want these features to be requested by the final user, by the voters, by the users who are creating the proposals, who are staking, who are doing everything, right? Who are using the app, and then have developers. Right now, it's only me who is working on DXvote, which is not the idea, and I will be focusing on trying to automate as much as possible the development process, some contribution and developer guidelines, also some rules on what future contributions should achieve technically, and what do we don't want. Like if a new feature, if you are a developer and you are solving an issue, or you are solving a feature request, but you are adding a centralized point to the app, that is something that it won't be accepted in DXvote. So we are going to have some strong technical requirements on what the app should be able to do, and it should be up to date. It should be up online 100%. It should be 100% decentralized. We should have complete control over it. So the idea is to have something like that, an app that is with very clear contribution guidelines, where a testing group or even every user can go use the app, and if they find an issue or they want to request a feature, they create an issue following a certain template, and then a developer is going to pick it up and add what is missing or fixing the bug on the app. I created some missions on a milestone that is called DXvote 1.0. where the idea is to create something standalone and flexible that it won't need a lot of maintenance, because if we want to make a call to a new contract, let's say to a token or to an ENS registry, you are just going to have to request the permission registry, let's say in a security layer over the dApp, to allow this function to be called. So everything will be designed to kind of work on its own on the Sentinel 100% decentralized app. This is what I envision. We have a lot of work already done, and yeah, I would like to hear what other people think here. If someone disagrees on that, we shouldn't pursue the current app and finish it, or yeah, what do you think of how should we pursue this app development? I'm trying to do something. The idea here is to do something very independent, and how can I say it? Like organized on its own with clear rules, where anything that you find that you want to add, you create an issue, and any other developer in DXgov can pick it up and work on it, because it's going to be written in the same language, following the same structure of our dApps, of Swapper, of Mesa, of Omen. Everything is on React.js, using Web3, yeah, using more or less the same libraries. So any other developer will be able to pick up small issues and fix stuff and add new features.
I'm just wondering, is this app meant to be used just by us, or is it meant to be like used by any project that wants to have like holographic consensus governance? Like, what is the idea?
This is the idea will be not it to be a product that we can sell or a service that we can provide. Just a app that we are going to use ourselves, and it's going to be designed our needs or around our needs, where we are going to be able to test our new governance systems in multiple networks, and to grow technically on the governance side.
Okay.
So what I would like to hear here is if who will be interested in joining this testing group, reviewing the current state in the app, came up with the requirements that we need for the minimum version that can be used by the users. We need to prioritize certain issues and features that we want. Yeah, mainly to listen and hear what do you think is important in our governance app to have, and I can start working over it. And the idea would be for me to create something that later anyone can contribute, that it won't be depending on me doing all the code and everything. So something that can be maintained by the community, and maybe someone else can take the technical lead in the future.
I mean, I think it's valuable to have something that does not have the middleware that Alchemy has, and like the Alchemy not working on XDAI yesterday and the day before is like a good example of like why like DXvote would be useful. Yeah, so to me that's like a big reason why it's a good thing to have.
And we probably actually need it. For example, I'm thinking about Arbitrum. As of now, it has no subgraph support at all. So probably we need something that can work with DAO stack contracts without the middleware of the subgraph. So yeah, I mean, I personally, I'd be interested in contributing, but I don't know if right now I have enough time. But it's like maybe some things here and there I can contribute.
Exactly. This is also the idea. The entry barrier to start right now contributing on DXvote is super high, because I'm the only one who wrote and understand the code. But my idea would be to document as much as possible and to have clear contribution guidelines and help everyone else who even can start with a small feature or with a small bug fix, because again, it's all it will be written on the same code that we use on the rest of our app. Yeah, it would be awesome to see all of us working on the same DApp, something truly standalone and 100% decentralized. That again, we shouldn't be needing subgraph and other stuff. This should be this is the glue that hold our all products together. Governance, I think, is in the middle. And if it is broken or if it stops working, like everyone's come to a halt, so I think it's super important that we take this super seriously, and from here we can add and we can learn a lot about how can we maybe even get rid of subgraph or another centralized services in the rest of our apps.
Yeah. I think Machina likes to use anti-fragile, but I like resiliency, right? Like the DXgov needs to be like resilient in a lot of different ways, and like resiliency or like redundant is like another word. So it's like, yeah, like if Alchemy goes down, like we're resilient, anti-fragile to that because we have other options. I also think this kind of highlights, as we kind of think about how we should be working and developing different things, like I think governance is a very much a like not urgent problem that is very, very important, right? So if it's not urgent, it's like it actually doesn't require our attention like right now. There's not like a bleeding, body on the floor that we need to address, but it is something like we need to think about like long term. So like how can we have these like sustained kind of like slower development process where we're gathering like feedback, so like when we do need to make like a move and we are put in a place where we're like, oh no, we need to have like a backup, we can like act quickly. And then yes, as someone who like uses Alchemy all the time, and I feel like I'm getting pretty intimate with it, I would be happy to like kind of test and give as much like feedback on this, because yeah, in the end, this is just like the tools that we end up working, we use to work.
Yeah, like literally everyone is using Alchemy right now, and we're probably going to continue using Alchemy. When can we use DXvote instead of Alchemy? When can we say bye-bye to Alchemy?
Well, I think the first step will be having it on XI and start testing it there. But the first thing we do will be to set clear issues and things that need to be solved for the version 1.0 that later we can, again, test it on XI. And when we see it work and we like it, that's it. Then we can see how we can move to mainnet or continue using Alchemy on mainnet. But I think XI here will be like a very good place to start testing it, even with a small amount of money, where we can really show everything that DXgov can do and how resilient it can be to other systems. So I think when we need to know what the rest of the users will want for the first version. I already created some issues. So I think I will be creating a call next week to decide which are the priorities and the features that we need for the first version on XI. And then we can estimate. It can be a month, it can be 2, 3. I think not more than 3 months. I will go for 2 months to have something on Alchemy.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Sorry.
Is any dev able to work on DXvote besides Augusto? Like on the Omen side, we have worked for 1 year at least. Like, how do you envision that other teams? I think literally everyone is extremely busy, and it looks like we need an own team for DXvote.
yeah, this is exactly what I don't want. I don't want. I mean, like I envision it as a DApp that can be contributed by anyone, and again, it will be very standalone. One that we build, it will be designed where you won't need to change that much, even on the blockchain level, to make it work, because it will be safe and secure as it is. Where we will have again a security layer where any action that you want to do, it should be approved before being able to be executed on chain. And then it's not that hard. It's just voting, staking, and showing and creating proposals.
And Augusto, I think Federico's point is interesting about Arbitrum, because I don't think it's that they don't have subgraph support at all, but they didn't have like full archive node support or whatever, like something that Alchemy needed. I don't think we're super clear on when Arbitrum launches, but it might be a case where we actually like need an alternative to Alchemy to launch on Arbitrum, like Federico was saying.
I mean, DAOstack, yeah, we can shit on DAOstack, but they announced Arbitrum support. Like, I think if we signal them, hey guys, hurry up, there's a high chance that they actually hurry up. Right, Elon?
I mean, technically it just depends on the graph. And if the graph decides to deploy on Arbitrum, then Alchemy can be deployed there. There is also the option of running our own graph server, and yeah, on Arbitrum and connecting to that. But I think that's just going to be like a bunch of overhead. So I mean, technically, no real dApps can actually go to Arbitrum without like the graph. Like 90-something% of dApps actually use it. So
yeah, totally.
So you think DAOstack will probably have support for Arbitrum up and running?
I mean, I don't know. Like I'm trying to think if would I put an open market that this would happen. I don't know.
The question is like, I think DAOstack put out a blog post about, yeah, we will go to Arbitrum. The question is,
it was a tweet. It was a tweet.
Let's see, shit.
I remember this because I tried to find. I tried to find
the DAOstack tweets.
Yeah,
yes.
Like I
thing is,
referenced it, and the only thing to reference is the tweet. There's no blog post.
So I mean, like, there's been like like what a change of workforce since then. So not sure like who will be able to deploy it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is essentially where my like concern comes from, right? Is that DAOstack's kind of working on a skeleton crew, and I think they have some capability left, but yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like this is like downside risk insurance in a way. Like we're kind of this is something that's really important to us, and like we need to make sure we have like backup options. And it's not so much that it's like a fully like, you know, operable dApp that like is great like right now, but like if we had to move quickly or if something like kind of I think this like gives us flexibility. But again, it doesn't seem like urgent right now.
Well, I mean, it depends. Like if Arbitrum launches and like DAOstack can't, like it could become urgent.
Right.
Quickly, but in order for DXgov to like fill that need, it does need to be like more usable than like just going to Etherscan or like Block Scout or something, right? Like it needs to be like something that an average user can do it.
Yeah, what like the DXgov paid the development for DXvote, and we're still in a state where it's like just a alpha product and literally no one is using it. And I'm worried that we continue with that, even with this behind the back thinking that it is like okay, if Alchemy is exploding, we can just jump ship. And
Geronimo, do you have a solution for our governance? Another? Like it seems like we should be investing money into our governance like system. And like I'm worried that we don't have anything else besides this.
I would agree that we need to care about it. Lego is like probably the main alternative. I mean, there is DAOstack. Like DAOstack's not like completely dead. There's Lego. But I would agree with you, and I think that. But the other question though too is like, what is the priorities for? Because there are other governance efforts that are kind of incomplete and underway as well.
Exactly.
So,
like I'm not saying like DXvote is like completely not important. I'm worried like each each product and each team is dependent on each other. Like we are completely interconnected, and now it's like the governance module, the governance stuff is like joining the whole game. And like what I need to make sure of, like in terms of Omen development, the guild is like 100% priority. And like my point is, we can keep DXvote on idle with low priority, and everyone who has like some bandwidth can work on it.
I mean, I think that's what Augusto is proposing. That's like what we're all talking about here. I think like we're all aware of the resource like constraints here, and I think that we can work on things that have different time frames. Like if we get we don't want to be like, I guess in the US we have these like 5-year-old kids soccer games or football games, and like when you have that, like this big group of people just like all run and like follow the ball at once, right? And it's like this is the big priority. Like we're all following there, and I think like we need to do that for other things, but we need to like think about how to like have some things in the background working that are not taking resources from immediate priorities. But like we need to be able to figure out how to do like both of them. And I'm just from like Augusto seeing what Augusto is proposing here. It doesn't seem like he's asking for like people to test, right?
I mean, he's speaking about like a 3 months development timeline. I'm not sure. Like,
well, if he wants to propose a proposal that asks for resources, like then that's a different thing. But like I don't think he's asking for resources here.
Okay, I think he did, but Augusto can probably clarify.
First, I don't know which resources do I need because I don't know which feature do we want for DXvote version 1.0. So this is one I want to first define, and then I can estimate how much time it's going to take me. With also take in mind that I still have to help on other sides, like writing the smart contracts for the Omen Guild, but again, this is where I want to work on DXgov. This is where I always wanted to work, and this is how I do. I don't want to be I never contribute on a project that I don't feel attracted to. All the project idea of DXgov I like a lot, and I want to be the one that is going to be working on something that's going to be gluing, making. Interacting all together through the DXgov app, where every other developer can contribute and we can maintain it all together. Maybe it's too crazy what I have on mind, but and maybe I'm a perfectionist and I'm asking too much technical requirements of what I want to create. But for me, it's crazy that we are relying on a centralized service on governance. Like right now, where we have $30 million, we have already a year running. This should be our focus first, where it will open the doors for us to test more stuff, to make other investments, to spread more money around, to spend less money voting, creating proposals, testing. So I think overall it's going to help a lot DXgov, and this is why I'm proposing and pursuing it. Thinking on all the projects.
Yeah, another way to look at this, right, Augusto, is you're kind of like leading up the internal, so to speak, governance efforts, right? Because you've done the ERC20 Guild, the DXvote, and some other stuff, right? Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's good. We need something. It just needs to be like we need to get the right feedback and get the right priorities. And that's kind of the main thing.
Yeah, I just need to know how much important, for example, is do we want to be able to make I don't know, to decode any call on when we are creating the proposal, or is it more important? No, we want to signal votes. We don't care how the proposal is going to be edited. Signaling votes is more important. I mean, if I have a clear understanding of which are our requirements from the users, we can estimate and we can plan around the next version of roadmap, at least for the next, 6 months. And then we can do it again in half a year.
So,
And have something where anyone else can contribute, not just me, that anyone else can work on it.
Tammy, I heard your soft voice.
Yeah, sorry.
Is that, yeah.
That's better. Or maybe not. But so it seems to me like this is like the governance 2.0 question fits really well as far as like parameters. I mean, obviously the guilds are different. We've discussed how the formula for the guilds versus the governance 2.0 initiative. I mean, this could be a beautiful opportunity to, have Augusto do governance 2.0 as the parameters, and coordinate with, I don't know, Lego in trying to, maybe beat expectations in executing our own DX vote governance 2.0 solution. I don't know how people feel about that, or if we want to just focus on kind of a DX guild.
Yeah, throwing governance 2.0 into the mix is interesting. Obviously, that is important. I think there's almost like three things here. Right? There's DX vote, like the current underway effort, which is like a bare bones alchemy, like no middleware, no graph, no separate servers, it's centralized servers, like a more like decentralized, if you will, like alchemy. Then there's guilds, like Omen Guild, DXD Guild, etc. And then there's like governance 2.0, which we don't even really have a great idea of like how that would be an evolution from the existing efforts.
Well, luckily, I don't know, not like Chris isn't too busy or anything, but I mean, it would make sense to think about kind of doing what we did with Omen Guild, but start thinking about this with Augusto, about how we go about executing this. How do we meet the outline that we, presented to DXD holders in, executing this while with Augusto, basically. And I'd be happy to assist with that if that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely. And it kind of is in a time because I want to jump over to this call, but just I thought John's kind of those 3 points and what like that's the different things we're like building and kind of operating right now. And like the guilds are so crucial to the Omen token, right? So it's a really great that like we had Augusto been building that over the last last year and kind of set us up position for that. I agree completely that it's hopefully can like flow into like Gov 2.0 stuff, and it kind of like gives us the ability to start like building our own governance stuff. So I hope it does like set the stage for that. And like I actually feel somewhat optimistically confident about that because I think like Augusto, is involved in this machine and kind of do a bunch. And then we have a lot of people from, DAO Stack that are involved in that or ex-DAO Stack that are interested in helping us. And I just think like if we can get those people and like kind of push this forward, like we will be able to like build something that is customizable for DXDAO, like on a host of different areas. But anyway, Augusto, you want the last word?
Yeah, about governance 2.0, we discussed on the working group, for example, the new reputation model that we want to have. Yeah, the no technicalities behind the protocol. But what about the technical requirements for the users, for us as an organization of application that we are going to use? I mean, is it not a requirement of governance 2.0 to have a 100% decentralized app that we can trust that is not going to break and is going to be working all the time, where we have control and we can iterate and we can add features? I think that is a requirement of governance 2.0, where the working group, we decide on, the technicalities on behind the rep, but what about the technical application, the technical requirement for the user? So I think that's super important, and we didn't discuss in the governance 2.0.
I mean, I think we should be like Ethereum, right? They've got what, 4 or 5 clients, right? And like I don't know, long term, we should have lots of different ways. Resiliency.
And that's just on the UI layer. I think what Augusto is saying, like basically the code level, there needs to be someone from DXDAO developing on it. and being able to maintain it, or the contracts being so simple that anyone could pick it up.
Yeah, actually, the best way, the best product will be something DXgov that we build, that it will be running for an entire year with no maintenance, with no one working on it at all. That will be the goal, I think, for DXgov 1.0. Something that you just put it there, and you know that it's going to be working, and it's going to be there for a year, and it's going to work as it always did.
Yeah, I think the question here is like what features your governance needs to have. Because I think DXvote, or Alchemy for that matter, it doesn't have, I think, the necessary features that DXDAO needs from a governance system.
That's what we need to figure out.
Yeah. So there should be like another Lego DAO meeting for anyone to join. That's like 2 hours before the general call tomorrow.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, we need to run over to this other call. If people have thoughts on the branding, now's your chance. Entre Casa. All right, guys. Thanks a bunch.
Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Bye.
See you.